What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over how to find and improve your weaknesses in the new season. I've seen plenty of videos on how to find your weaknesses and plenty of videos on how to improve your weaknesses, but never together. This video is pretty much just going to be your one-stop shop for improving an arena, so grab some popcorn and let's get into it. Okay, so the first step is finding your weaknesses. I know a lot of you struggle to find your strengths and weaknesses, me included, so I'm going to be going over some ways to help narrow it down. It's currently the off season, which means there are no tournaments going on, and that means it's the perfect time to work on improving what you're bad at. Okay, so the first thing I recommend is to look back at your games. I talked about this in my last video, but VOD reviewing your games is the only way you're going to be able to find what you're good and bad at. To record your games, you can either use the in-game replay mode, or if you're on PC, you can use a separate recording software. I personally recommend the in-game replay mode. Even though it does kind of hurt your FPS, you gain so much knowledge from it. So once you have a way to record your games, there are two ways you can go. You can either look at your games yourself, or you can show your games to a friend, or if you don't have any friends, you can show it to your dog. If you're looking at your games yourself, make sure you're doing it after you're done playing for the day, because in the moment it's easy to make excuses and blame your deaths on random things that actually did nothing. One of my favorite ways to VOD review is to get a friend and both record a few solo arena games and trade gameplays with each other. This eliminates any bias and it's a win-win because both of you are learning so much about your games that by yourself you normally wouldn't see. The first few times I did this, the other person would tell me something and I would be like, no, I always take right hand peeks, what are you talking about? Your advice sucks. But after I would look back and notice, oh yeah, I was taking bad left hand peeks. Most of the time, other people are going to be right about your mistakes, you just don't want to admit it. It's hard to own your mistakes, and when you start letting go of that and stop thinking that you're clicks and you're the best at everything, you're going to see major improvement. Okay, so by now you should have a good way to record and a way to look back at your games, but what should you be looking for? There are a few things I personally like to look at. Firstly, when are you dying? If you get a sample of your last 100 arena games, when are you dying the most? If you're dying off spawn more than 30 to 40% of your games, you either need to pick an easier drop spot or you need to work on your off spawn fighting. A few tips I have for off spawn fighting are to focus on your drop and to have a loop path planned out before you land. Having a good drop sounds easy, but it's something a lot of people mess up. When I play arena, I usually watch YouTube in between games to make the time pass, and I'll jump out of the bus and auto run, waiting till the last moment, turn off the video, but 9 out of 10 times I end up messing up my drop and dying. Then I proceed to blame the game for not giving me a shotgun, and it pretty much ruins my whole mentality. I'm not saying you can't watch Twitch or YouTube in between games, but as soon as you get in the battle bus, turn it off. Trust me, it helps. That tip's for a very small group of people, so if you're like, what is this guy ranting about? I'm sorry. And if that applies to you, you're welcome. If you die a lot mid-game by either psychos W-keying you or third-party spraying at you, you probably need to work on your fighting. About a month ago, I was in a phase where I couldn't survive to endgame because every time I got in a mid-game fight, I died right away. I know a lot of you are in that same boat and feel like every game some psycho controller player jumps in your box and aimbots you. But that probably means you're not fighting confident enough. I'm gonna make a separate video on how to gain confidence, but it comes with time. My biggest tip I give to everyone is to play only creative, no arena, until you can destroy almost everyone and you feel you're at a point where your mechanics and aim are almost the best they can be. That doesn't mean become a full-on creative warrior, it's the difference between triple editing and quad editing. Master everything that you're actually going to use in arena and practice your aim every single day. Once you're at that point, it's time to move on to step 2, which is playing only arena, no creative. The point of doing this is to build your confidence and to get you used to the lag. The only way to get better at arena is to play arena. Who would have thought? If you have the mechanics and aim you need, then all that's left is to pretty much gain confidence and learning to fight all playstyles. If you're playing arena and notice that your aim's a little off or that you can't do a certain high ground retake, then go back to step 1 until you feel comfortable again. After a few months of playing arena, your confidence will go way up and you'll feel so much more comfortable in arena. If you have high ping, play on a different server when you're warming up, and once you get comfortable, go back to your normal server. Trust me, it'll feel like creative. And if you have low FPS like me, put your FPS down to 60 or 120, and once you feel comfortable with that, go back to your normal FPS and your game will feel like butter. Okay, you've looked at your games, you know what you're bad at, now how do you improve those things? If aim is one of your weaknesses, which I bet for most of you it is, then I have 2 suggestions for you. I personally don't use Kovacs or other aiming softwares, I only use Creative Islands. I know a lot of you are on console or you can't afford Kovacs, so here are some creative maps that help me out a lot. To To work on your tracking and long range aim, I recommend the map called Scavox. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it before. It's pretty much the in-game version of Kovacs. When I use this map, I usually do the horizontal and vertical tracking sections, as well as the reaction time ones. To work on your close range shotgun and SMG aim, Raiders aim duel maps are really good. I'll have the code in the description for that, but I also recommend the new 200 pump only map. This map is pretty much a big 16 player box fight, but every second you regenerate health, so only 200 pumps kill people. I've been playing this map for a few weeks now, and my shotgun aim has gotten so much better because of it. If bad rotates and endgame are one of your weaknesses, then you need to compare your games to pros. Watching pros play stacked endgames and seeing what they do will help you in your games, because if you find yourself in a similar situation to them, you will know what to do. Oftentimes your deaths in endgame are caused by mistakes earlier in the game, so if you go into endgames with little mats, you probably messed up somewhere during mid-game and ended up shambles. For winning mid-game fights, I recommend what I like to call smart W-keying. Smart W-keying is pretty much what it sounds like, W-keying only smart fights. You should be taking as many fights as possible, but rushing into a fight you know isn't smart doesn't do anything for you. This type of playstyle usually results in 10 kill wins. You're not going to drop 20 bombs, but you're going to be learning and getting to endgame almost every game. Okay, I have a few more points to talk about before we wrap this video up. If you struggle with having a bad mentality, don't feel like you need to play the game all day, every day. Since it's summer, a lot of you will have a lot of time to play, but that doesn't mean playing 10 hours of arena a day. If you're losing motivation, play another game or just hang out with your friends. Don't feel like you have to grind the game all the time, because most of the time it's actually going to hurt you. If you feel like you're starting to rage, take a break, and if you have the urge to come back to the game, then start playing again. Playing with friends is a good way to keep your mentality in check, and remember, it's just a game. That is going to wrap today's video up. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any video ideas or suggestions, leave them in the comments below. And don't forget to comment how many times I said weaknesses in this weaknesses video. To confuse you, I'm going to say weaknesses a bunch of weaknesses times. Hot dog out. Weaknesses.